Last time on the problems with Canada. Canada faces a fentanyl epidemic and rampant money laundering, but the corruption doesn't end there. Today we look closely at Mark Carney, one of Canada's most influential figures, yet largely unaccountable to Canadians. Who is he, and whose interests does he truly serve? He held no elected office. From Goldman Sachs to Governor of the Bank of Canada, then the Bank of England, Carney's rise through global finance has been unstoppable. But in 2020, he entered the corporate world, joining Brookfield Asset Management as vice chair and head of ESG and impact fund investing, where he led the firm's sustainable investing and net zero strategies. In 2022, he was appointed chair of the board at Brookfield, providing strategic oversight of one of the most powerful financial entities in the world. At the same time, Carney positioned himself as Canada's moral compass on climate and economic policy, praised by global elites, championed by media, and quietly preparing for a much bigger stage. And now he's not hiding it anymore. Mark Carney is officially running for Prime Minister, having secured leadership of the Liberal Party in a backroom transition with little public debate. But what kind of leader would he actually be? When Mark Carney left the Bank of England in 2020, he didn't retire quietly. He joined Brookfield Asset Management, a financial titan managing nearly $1 trillion in global assets. It wasn't a symbolic appointment. As vice chair and head of ESG and impact fund investing, Carney was tasked with overseeing trillions in sustainability-linked capital flows. Later, as chair of the board, he played a key role in Brookfield's global expansion, including in China. Under his leadership, Brookfield poured billions into China, investing heavily in fossil fuels and infrastructure tied directly to Chinese state enterprises. Coal plants, gas pipelines, oil refineries, all while Carney preached aggressive climate policies in Canada, demanding that Alberta shut down its oil and gas industry to save the planet. Here's the double standard. Carney publicly pressures Canadians to abandon their energy jobs while his company profits from exactly those same industries overseas. It's environmental hypocrisy, and it's making Brookfield and Carney very wealthy. China is the world's largest emitter, responsible for nearly 30% of global greenhouse gases. Yet Carney's Brookfield investments actively support China's fossil fuel expansion, undermining the very goals he publicly champions in Canada. This isn't accidental, it's strategic. Chinese state companies gain capital and credibility from Brookfield's investments. Brookfield gains access to a lucrative state-supported market. And Carney gains power and profits, all while selling Canadians on a green future he clearly doesn't believe applies to China. Mark Carney doesn't just speak about climate change, he shapes global policy around it. As chairman of GFANZ, the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, Carney wields enormous influence, steering trillions of dollars from banks and corporations toward net zero climate targets. But behind the green facade lies a web of conflicts that raise serious questions about his true agenda. GFANZ was supposed to mobilize private capital to fight climate change. Instead, it became a lightning rod for controversy. U.S. lawmakers began asking pointed questions. Who really controls GFANZ? And why do its policies so often benefit firms like Brookfield Asset Management, where Carney himself is a senior executive? In 2023, members of the U.S. Congress raised alarms, accusing GFANZ of pressuring banks and financial institutions to drop investments that compete with companies tied directly to Carney. Critics argued GFANZ wasn't about climate action. It was about economic influence. It wasn't protecting the planet, it was protecting profits. When GFANZ pushed banks to divest from North American energy, who benefited? Brookfield's investments abroad. When GFANZ pressured companies to follow ESG mandates, who stood to gain? companies like Brookfield that already controlled compliant assets. The same man writing global climate rules was simultaneously positioned to profit from them. GFANZ isn't just another climate organization, it's a tool of corporate control wrapped in environmental virtue. It's a globalist Trojan horse, giving unelected financial leaders like Carney the power to reshape economies, override elected governments, and funnel trillions toward their preferred companies and countries. Mark Carney publicly champions Indigenous rights, reconciliation, and environmental responsibility in Canada. But abroad, Brookfield Asset Management, the company where Carney serves as a senior executive, has a troubling history of Indigenous abuses, land grabs, and environmental devastation. In Colombia, Indigenous communities accused Brookfield of forcibly displacing villagers to build hydroelectric dams. In Brazil, Brookfield investments displaced communities, disrupted livelihoods, and destroyed ecosystems. And in India, similar accusations emerged of environmental violations, forced relocation, and broken promises. Each time Brookfield faced backlash, it followed the same playbook: deny responsibility, stall accountability, and quietly move on. The money kept flowing, the projects kept growing, and Indigenous communities continued paying the price. But Mark Carney doesn't speak about these issues. He doesn't confront them, doesn't acknowledge them publicly, and doesn't apologize. Instead, he lectures Canadians about ethics, justice, and reconciliation, values his own firm seems willing to abandon whenever profits demand it. Mark Carney is no longer just a rumored candidate. He's now the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada and is officially running for Prime Minister. Backed by global financial elites, legacy media, and powerful lobbyists, Carney's rise wasn't built on grassroots support. It was built in boardrooms. His vision for Canada reflects the worldview of Goldman Sachs, the Bank of England, and Brookfield Asset Management, not the values of everyday Canadians. His record shows a man comfortable with centralized power, unelected influence, and deep conflicts of interest. And if elected Prime Minister, he won't be leading Canada. He'll be managing it on behalf of those who already control it. Next time on The Problems with Canada, Mark Carney is just one face of the problem. Next time, we expose how Canada's elites and their globalist agenda are reshaping our economy, sending jobs and wealth overseas while ordinary Canadians pay the price.